Welcome to the Blockchain Hustle, where I take a look at some interesting plays of how blockchain technology is opening up new business vistas across multiple industries. Data has never been so vital. And if you do not have full visibility into data, you will not have enough insight towards making decisions. But how do you get this data? This data about not just your suppliers, but your suppliers' suppliers and further downstream into your supply chain. And why would these entities share their data with you? How do you incentivize them to share this data, to come on board a common platform? Hi, this is your host, Meenu Serene, with the 11th episode of the series, Blockchain in the New Norm. Now, in the last couple of episodes, I have explored how supply chains in the new norm, they're getting repurposed with resilience and flexibility or agility as the new mantra. And I shared about two companies, Timeless and Rapid Medical Parts, in the previous episode. This one is on the blockchain deployment toolkit from the World Economic Forum. Now, the COVID-19 outbreak, it highlighted an urgent need for the resilience in the global supply chains. And this resilience, it depends upon trust, transparency, and integrity, all of which are improved by a shared truth, a shared common truth. And resilience and agility go hand in hand. A recent World Economic Forum report, it highlighted a couple of key principles for the agile blockchains. One, ensure the data privacy for suppliers. And second, incentivizing suppliers to share data. Now, as I mentioned earlier in the beginning of this episode, data has never been so vital. And if you do not have full visibility into the data, you will not have enough sufficient insight towards making decisions. This visibility is key for the supply chain efficiency and agility under normal circumstances, but it is all the more so in this pandemic. Now, companies typically, they have production and shipment schedules and a little bit more information from their suppliers. But what about the suppliers' suppliers? What about the entities which are further downstream? If you have the visibility down the chain, you can plan, you can take actions. But the question comes, why would a supplier share data? Why would he share this information with the end customer? It is the fear of losing the competitive advantage, whether it is regarding their operations, their pricing, or their sourcing. And a limited and a permission data access can help here, where the suppliers, they can control exactly who receives what data from them, and they can also independently verify these controls. And a decentralized system could be the best way to give the buyers the visibility that they want and suppliers the privacy that they need. Now, a permission blockchain can help here. You put all your suppliers and their partners' information onto the blockchain, and then the data can be shared without necessarily knowing the identity of the partners. That is, of course, until and unless the supplier has no issue sharing the same with you. But then, how do you incentivize the suppliers to come on board? And along with them, their partners. Now, one option that you have is you can pay suppliers for the data. But what we have seen is that what often gets more traction is the access to funding through the supply chain finance. One which is not just limited to the first tier suppliers in the chain, but also the ones further down. Again, blockchain is a great technology which underpins the supply chain finance. Transactions that can be shared between the financiers and the other parties in a very transparent, immutable, and a secure mode. And this is true irrespective of any or no direct relationship between these parties. Plus, these benefits multiply as your network grows. Blockchain is all about your networking, the ecosystems network. More entities become a part of this blockchain network platform, and it leads to a financing ecosystem. And IBM, Ripple, and Financial, China Everbright Banks, Citibank, etc. are a few of the players in this space. Now, to help the organizations improve the future pandemic preparedness, the World Economic Forum, it launched in April this year, it launched a toolkit to enable organizations and networks to deploy blockchain-powered solutions quickly and responsibly. And this was in response to the challenges seen and the lessons and the insights which were shared by more than 100 blockchain stakeholders. And they ranged from governments to companies and supply chain experts. Now, these were mainly that an adaptive supply chain requires, I'm talking about the challenges and the lessons and the insights. So these were mainly that an adaptive supply chain, it requires, number one, an active buy-in from all the stakeholders. Second, clear regulatory implications for the businesses. And thirdly, the educational awareness at the project inception. So I've always been a key proponent on the evangelization of blockchain in public as well as private sector. Now, for many organizations, blockchain is it's an unfamiliar digitization tool. So naturally, they would be a little apprehensive and they have their own share of anxieties towards adopting them. This kit should help their deployment journey. It can be especially useful to the smaller players who may have the limited access to resources. So it kind of helps level the playing field. Now, while this toolkit has been in the making over the last year, the pandemic accelerated it. So what is in the kit? Titled as Redesigning Trust, the kit has 14 modules providing guidelines and the best practices for deploying blockchain-powered solutions. The topics cover subjects formation and governance of consortia, data protection, cybersecurity, regulatory compliance, etc. It also explains how a minimum viable ecosystem can be used to launch a more secure food supply chain, something that was very highly affected by the pandemic. And the initial focus of this toolkit is on the supply chain's deployment. The toolkit was created by the World Economic Forum with a Center for the Fourth Industrial Revolution Network Fellows from Hitachi, Deloitte, and Saudi Aramco. And the toolkit has been piloted by several organizations, including ADA, which is the Abu Dhabi Digital Authority, Hitachi, Saudi Aramco, and a number of SMEs. And about ADA, if you recollect, I had shared about this entity under the UAE blockchain examples in the 8th episode of my Blockchain in the Public Sector series. So if you want to know more about their blockchain expertise or their pilot runs or what they're doing in that, I would strongly recommend you to go and have a listen to this 8th episode. Now, the Center for the Fourth Industrial Revolution, or the C4IR, is the World Economic Forum's newly established forum to facilitate a multi-stakeholder dialogue, cooperation, governance on the challenges and the opportunities which are brought in with advanced technologies. And blockchain is one of them. And the others are AI, IoT, urban mobility, and others. So this is as far as a share on the repurposing of supply chains in the new norm is concerned. And I plan to do a wrap-up of the series, Blockchain in the New Norm, in the next episode. So till then, stay safe. Cheers. You've been listening to the Blockchain Hustle. Did you enjoy this podcast? If so, please do leave a short review, like it, share it, download it, subscribe to it. What should I talk about next? Please do let me know your suggestions by writing to me at meenu@vlsiconsultancy.com or through any of the other contact channels as shared in the episode notes. Thanks.